Hello, my name's Naomi and this is my colleague Lottie. Auto emails and setting criteria and how they can help you help your business. So we're just going to go through what will be covered in the session, and then we've got some scenarios and things to show you. So we'll start from there.
So today we'll be covering mainly the frequently asked questions regarding scheduling and criteria of emails. Now, some of the material in the webinar, it may be very new or very basic depending on where you are with your setup, but not to worry, all of the content is available on our help centre at help.supercontrol.co.uk.
Okay, so we are going to pop you on mute, but my colleague Tom is going to be in the chat as a panelist to answer your questions that some of you may have as we go along. So we're going to cover the content, and then any other questions that we don't get to, we will be able to follow on after the webinar is finished. So we're just going to go straight into it and cover criteria. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. So the first thing that we're going to cover is setting criteria. We know that a lot of the content was asked for about third-party bookings, so we're really going to cover specific emails for guests that are booking through booking.com, Airbnb, cottages.com, and setting criteria for that. So the first thing that you will want to make sure that you've done is built your email into the system by clicking add. In this webinar, we're going to use some of the pre-existing letters and emails to set up, and so we're going to go straight into auto emails and SMS. So Lottie is going to cover some scenarios with you, and then I'm going to show you how they would be set up. So Lottie, if you want to take it away.
Okay, so we're looking at how we want to make your business thrive. So obviously the main advantages of using criteria is for sending automated emails so that the clients will see the time saved saved as Super Control. It reads the criteria against the bookings that arrive. So this removes the need for manual intervention. So for instance, let's pick a first scenario. You've got a third-party booking, and let's say a booking was made through cottages.com, and you'd like to confirm with the guests that you've received their full payment and you look forward to welcoming them. So how do you do it, Nay?
Okay, so as you can see, I've got a specific group set up for third-party bookings just here. So you can do this by adding a new group, titling it, and then either selecting property specifics, or in this case, I'm going to use it as my group for third-party bookings. And so you would be able to do this by going to add new letter, clicking here. So this is balance due. And then here is really going to be important as to who you are applying this letter to. So as this is a third-party booking, I'm just going to take this off, owner bookings and admin bookings and anyone booking through your website. So it's just going to go through any of your third-party bookings. So I've got scheduled date in here. We would go to send when criteria is triggered. So we're going to set this to send when a specific criteria is come in. So if we scroll down here, you can include your booking summary in here. So this is particularly useful if you're sending a balance due letter, but if you're sending a thank you letter, which we'll come to shortly, then you can't, then you would choose whether to send this or not. So in here is really where you're going to find lots and lots of different types of criteria. There's criteria on payment statuses, which we will cover, booking statuses, and any of the sort of guest options and extras. So I'm going to scroll down and look at third party. So you can select if this is bookings through a third party. You can use this as your first criteria and then specify that it's going to have to apply to all of those bookings, or if you can, if you wanted to choose a specific one. So we're going to go for this one, and then we click add. And so you can see that this letter will go to cottages.com or booking.com. This account doesn't have booking.com related bookings in, so it won't pull that through. So this is why I've got cottages.com in here. And then we scroll down, and then this is really to set recipients in here. So it's going to the guest and myself as the account owner. But of course, you could have anybody included in this email. Once you are happy with this change, we will click update letter in here. And so you can see that this letter is updated, and we will cover how to add these letters once you've added them in, or you're updating a letter shortly in the webinar. So that's your first scenario. So I'll just go back to automated letters.
So scenario 2, for instance, you have a web booking and you want the guest to know that the payment for the deposit has been received. What do you do?
Okay, so we're going to choose to go into this property, and then once again add new letter, and so this is booking confirmation. So again, up here it's really important to go to web bookings, booking confirmation, and then in here you would leave it when to send when booking is added. So if this is set to 0, it means that it will send immediately as the booking comes in. And in here I would insert text in the booking. And again, down here, it's something that I would put as the guest and myself as to be copied in, just to make sure that that email goes. So you can really use this to your advantage in if you have a specific user that's looking after certain things like an accountant, you would be able to set them up in your contacts, and so you can add them into the letter when that's sent. And so again, we can update letter, and then that's added this letter in. One thing to just cover quickly is that you would go back to automated form letters and add to existing bookings if you wanted to add a new letter and criteria that you've set up in here. You'd be able to do this, filter this by date of booking and arrival date or departure date, and then you'll be able to choose which letters to add in.
So next scenario, we've got a guest has decided that they no longer want to stay for one reason or another, and so they'd like to cancel the booking. So you want to schedule when to send a letter to say that the booking has been cancelled and that you're aware of that. So Nia, what do you do?
Okay, so then I would click add new letter again. So I'm just using the pre-existing letters that we can drop into your account. If you don't have any of these, we can add them in for you if you just contacted support. So I'm just going to add this in here. And again, I would leave this actually as all bookings in here. So this would be a criteria booking because I want it to send when a specific something specific has happened with the booking. So in here you would just be able to go to booking statuses, and then you would be able to send if booking is cancelled, click add, and then I would also insert the summary text in here. And update letter.
So another scenario which is good for helping your business thrive, as in what this webinar is about, is say a guest has checked out and you'd like to thank them for coming and staying with you. So you want to schedule a letter that's been to be sent a number of days after their departure. So this is really good for encouraging repeat bookings, and they can be used for sending incentives such as voucher codes, which you can set up.
Okay, brilliant. So I'll just go in here, add new letter. So this one, I think we've got it set to a thank you. So you can add a voucher code such as repeat guest based in your vouchers and offers. And you would, once you've got that code, you can actually stick it in to your letter in emails and letters and edit. So if you found the thank you letter, and you could put in repeat guest, and someone would be able to use it. So again, I would use this for all my bookings. And then in here, it would be days post departure. So in here, we've got a maximum of 365 days. So you can send this for really any amount of days post departure. So I would probably pick about 3 to 4 days. It's a good one. I would not put in a summary, and then would click in here, always send, and then to the guest, and then you can copy yourself in, or if you had someone in your office that you wanted to let know, this would be somewhere you could add them in, an update letter. And then you could again add them into pre-existing bookings if you wanted to after you've added this letter in.
So the last scenario we've got for specific to criteria is regarding a property rather than a booking. So say the guests will be arriving soon and they require directions or a key code to access the property, and you want them to receive this email with the attachment of the directions. How do you do this, May?
Okay, so you would be able to create a new group. So for example, I've got buttermilk house letters here for my property. So if you add new letter in, so arrival information, so you can really be creative in your emails as to what specifically you wanted to let your guests know. So in here we would have days prior to arrival, probably 3 days in here. And then in the attachments, you will notice that we've got some global documents in here, and so you can add in directions. For example, you can upload a global document with how to get to your property, Wi-Fi information. So like I've got here, arrival instructions, and then we would just be able to make sure that your housekeeper knows that the guest is coming as well. And I've also got a gardener set up as well, so I'd want him to make sure that the garden's kept nice, and then we click update letter, and that's that one.
So you can have up to 4 different criteria, so you can be as specific as your requirements need.
Yeah, I've got a client actually who has criteria set up for previous guest, so it's set up to see that a postcode and an email address and a last name match, and then he's got it set up to if they have a booking option of a dog, it means that they've the letter's going to send with the dog arrival pack and sort of rules about keeping a dog in his property. So you can be really specific in how many criteria you have just down here. So there's lots and lots of different options you can use. So first time guests, repeat guests, guests with children, etc., etc. So that's that.
So the next bit, now we've done criteria, is the additional information. So as well as sending a letter to the guest, you can, as we've just shown, you can add in attachments. As Nay showed earlier, you can send the emails to specific recipients. You also can group the letters according to property. So as we saw, you can add directions in, or if there are instructions in how to use a hot tub, if you had such a thing. With the different recipients, for instance, you need the property cleaned before the arrival of the guest. You can send the booking information to the housekeeper only, and then they know when to go in and to clean, or with the gardener to get the garden ready, however that works for you. You can copy people in, you can blind copy in. There are many different ways of doing it.
One thing to mention, just up here actually, so this is a recent development that we've added. So if you had a guest that's booking late notice booking, they're actually coming next week, and you have your balance reminder set to come 30 days before arrival, obviously that letter won't send to that booking, but if you click on this date, it means that you can say for this letter to go to that booking and make sure that the guest knows they've got to pay their balance, for example, if they've given you their deposit over the phone. So this is a really useful feature to make sure that your bookings get their information.
So the last bit is just to say about you can send it as groups. So you may have many different properties, and you'll have a different arrival letter for each different property depending on directions and things like that. So you can group the letters and what you do for each property. So rather than scrolling through and changing and editing them, you can have a separate one for each.
Yeah, that's right. So you can have as many letters in the system as you want to. We have some clients who have like 40 properties and a different arrival instruction for each, and a different sort of directions for each property and things like that. So it's really unlimited what you can do. But just to say, up here is where you would add in your global documents. All you would need to do would be to open here and choose your file, and then click open, making sure that you name it, and then you can save it and then just attach it to any letter that you want to send.
So I think that concludes the webinar for today, and I hope you find this really useful. And please remember that all the material covered will be in the Help Centre, and that there will be a recording on the Help Centre under the support webinars for you to watch another time. So our next webinar is in 2 weeks' time, and the topic is managing money on cancelled bookings.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you can make it next time.